Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fast Money Football. I'm your host, Albert Vartanian, and I'm joined today by Sara Poraria. Sara, what a fantastic midweek in the Champions League we've had so far. Starting with Villarreal, stunning Bayern Munich. And we've talked about this team in Emery a lot on this show, at least you have, because we're aware of how good of a manager he is. And now I think most people are aware of that as well. But his team are playing so well to go to Bayern, get a result, and qualify for the next stage. Amazing for them.
Yeah, no, I couldn't be happier. Of course, I like to see the Spanish team succeed always, but I think it's great, taking out one of the big hitters. This was probably the one game that I think most football fans were like, okay, this is the easiest pick. It has to be Bayern, right? But I love the upset. I love seeing Unai Emery doing what he does. He is such a masterclass coach when it comes to knockout games. Like, you can look at it, you can say Villarreal are 7th in La Liga, but when it comes to needing to just do what you need to do in 90 minutes, or rather 120, depending on what game it is, we saw Manchester United and them in the finals in Europa last year, but he just knows exactly how to play these games, and I couldn't be happier. I love it. I think it's great.
Arsenal fans will know this. So once Emery is in the knockout stages, that's all he thinks about. He puts the league to the side and he goes all in on the Champions League or the Europa League. Plus 550 they were to qualify. So if you put some money on that, you made some good cash. I was thinking about this yesterday. I think I posed this question on Twitter. Maybe I didn't. I might have been dreaming that. But they're the only team left that has 100% focus on the Champions League. City and Liverpool are battling out in the Premier League. If Atletico do go through, they're still fighting for a top 4 spot in La Liga. Like you mentioned, Villarreal, mid-table in La Liga, this is their sole focus. How dangerous could that make them?
I think it can play into it extremely because, like we said, we've seen Unai Emery do this with Villarreal and Sevilla in the Europa League. And so for me, it wouldn't be surprising to see him and, Submarines do this in this competition as well, because like you said, they're far enough down the table where it's like, yeah, they might try and go for that Europa spot, but then winning the Champions League, like, come on, that has to be your focus. And a lot of the players on the team, they got some great young players, but a lot of the players are talking about, Danny Parejo, they're getting older. How cool would it be for them to win a UCL? Like, 100%, this could really be dangerous.
Speaking of Danny Parejo, he made a nice statement after the game. He was talking about Julian Nagelsmann. He said their coach lacked a bit of respect against us and for football, saying he was looking to wrap up the tie in the first leg. In the end, when you spit upwards, it usually falls back on top of you. So I love that. You got to be careful what you say, especially heading into massive matches like this, because no one can be underestimated. Before we came into this, I was just talking about we don't know what to expect today. It's difficult to make a prediction for any game, even with Benfica playing against Liverpool, because like Villarreal, they have nothing to play for. This is it. This is it for them. This is their season. So anything can happen. So you can't really dismiss, the lower level teams compared to, teams like Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Klopp is a different type of manager, though. I think he's much more down to earth in that sense, where he looks at each game like we have to perform, as hard as we can. It doesn't matter if we're playing, Burnley or Manchester City or, Villarreal or whatever it may be. Like, I think Klopp is a little bit more level-headed when it comes to that, but I really like that Danny Parejo came out and said that, because I think it's true. I think even the way Bayern was playing, they came into this match really cocky, and it really, like, it bit them in the behind in the end, because look at what happened. I think, like, I'm really happy it was said, because you shouldn't underestimate any team. We're also talking about Champions League quarterfinals. Like, these are huge games. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
Real Madrid beat Chelsea. They got through some way, somehow. They got through 5-4 on aggregate. I don't want to rain on the Real Madrid parade, especially because I have a ticket on them to win this thing outright, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. So I'm happy they went through. But once again, they didn't play that well. I mean, in Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, they did a great job. Obviously, Benzema with the hat trick helped that along. But in this second leg, they were completely outplayed and woke up near the end. But once again, I feel like Real maybe we're just running on luck at this point. And that could have been the high point for them in this Champions League. Do you think based on who they're going to face in the next round, which will likely be Manchester City or Atletico Madrid, are they going to get through that?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this, I think, last week when we talked. You were telling me that, Chelsea, the defending champions, and Chelsea, to their credit, they had a fantastic game. They kind of were surged with all this energy out of nowhere and made for some great football. But this, to me, is still Real's competition. I think you can never count them out. Yeah, we noticed weaknesses with them yesterday, which I like to see. I don't want them to win anything. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not foolish when it comes to Real and Champions League. And at the end of the day, they still got the job done. Yeah, they were down, but they came back. And I think that just shows the strength of the team, the motivation. They won. They went through. So, I don't know. And the thing is I know City's, I think City is going to be the one that ends up facing them. It could be Atleti, but I don't know. This is still a really good team. And come on, Karim Benzema. This guy's going to score on you. It doesn't matter how. He can find the back of the net. And that's what so many teams are having trouble with right now, scoring goals.
Yeah, he's in incredible form at the moment. And Real Madrid, prior to entering the first leg of the quarters, they were plus 1,600 to win it all. Now they've jumped up to plus 550. Still pretty good odds considering you got Liverpool plus 125, City plus 150. One of those teams, or even both, could be out of this competition, which would be completely shocking, but not surprising based on what we've seen so far. Villarreal, if you want to throw some cash, plus 1,600, Sarah. What do you think about that?
Hey, I mean, a little sprinkle. Imagine it could happen.
A little bit of sprinkle, right? Yeah, I like that. You know what I love about Villarreal too? They have these players who were, deemed as kind of, castaways from their club. You look at Gio Lo Celso, never really worked out for him at Spurs, but he's a very good player, and he's shown that. He was man of the match yesterday. Etienne Capoue, they got from Watford for $2 million. Danny Parejo, another really good player. I think a player that I think now people can see how good he is because he lit it up on the European stage. But he's not a player that would necessarily make it into the top teams around the world. But these collection of players have come together under Emery, and now they're showing the world what they can do. I think it's a fantastic story.
No, I'm so happy for it. And I think a lot of the neutrals in football are cheering for Villarreal now.
Yeah, and look at Pau Torres. He turned down another player. He turned down Spurs because he wanted to play in the Champions League with Villarreal. And obviously, last season they won the Europa League under Emery. So they believe in their manager, which is fantastic to see. I want to touch on Chelsea quickly because their season is pretty much all but over. They're going to finish in the top four. Even if they do drop points, I think they'll still finish in the top four. But Tuchel, very upset yesterday with the referees after the game. He said, "I was disappointed that the referee had a good time with my colleague, Carlo Ancelotti. I see the referee laughing and smiling, laughing loud with the opponent's coach. I think this is very, very wrong time to do this." So I saw this during the broadcast. I never really thought anything of it. But is this a story or is this a non-story?
I mean, you're always going to have the coaches come, especially after a tough loss. They can, blame it on the ref. I mean, listen, I'm a Barca fan. I hate the way Real gets treated by refs sometimes. I know it better than anyone else, but I mean, come on, look at the way Real came back to life. Tuchel, focus maybe on the players and what had happened. I know that slip from Rudiger really screwed them up with that Benzema goal, but it shouldn't have got to that point in the first place. You guys were dominating that game. I think the focus, it's easy to take it out on the ref, but you guys put yourself in that position in the first place.
I'm going to throw some numbers and stats at you, and I want you to guess who this person is, okay?
Okay.
Chelsea's record transfer fee, £7 million per goal involvement. 1 goal against the Big Six. Ranked 55th in the Premier League for goals. 12 games missed, and he didn't play last night against Real Madrid.
Oh, he didn't play.
Wasn't
we're
even on
talking
the bench.
Romelu Lukaku.
Yes. What the hell is going on with Romelu Lukaku?
So I heard he had an Achilles injury, so he wasn't even.
Yeah, sure he did. Just like Ronaldo's injuries when he misses certain games.
Yeah.
This is crazy. What is going on? I don't understand.
Know, but I also think Lukaku could have been a really good player to play against Real because he's much more physical than some of the guys up front. He's a bigger body. We're talking about, you have to go through players like Casemiro and Cruz. You want some big guys, not just Kai Havertz, who, weighs probably 160 pounds soaking wet. I don't know. I was really, really shocked when I saw that because I thought surely we have to see Lukaku. I don't know. It seems like that him and the manager aren't getting along. Maybe him and the team, he's not fitting. I think he's got to go because he still has some career left in him. Don't waste it away if you're not, meshing with the club. I think it was a mistake on a lot of people's, ends. Him coming to Chelsea, it didn't really seem like it made a lot of sense. And now it's kind of proving that. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think is going on behind closed doors?
I don't know. Clearly, he's a player they wanted to bring in and want him to play. When you're, the record transfer fee, especially for that club who spends a lot of money, you're expected to play, you're expected to perform. It just hasn't worked out. And now, if you look at the pecking order in terms of strikers for Chelsea, Timo Werner's scoring goals again. He scored a beautiful one yesterday. Kai Havertz is still scoring goals. So you look at Lukaku and you're like, well, out of form, not playing, can't make the bench, Achilles injury, quote unquote. He's third in the pecking order. I can't see him playing many games. Maybe, actually, you know what? Based on where Chelsea is now, after this Champions League, not having anything to play for except to stay in the top four, maybe we'll see Lukaku get some game time. But who knows what happens with Chelsea now at the same time with everything that's going on off the field. But in terms of why it hasn't worked for Lukaku at Chelsea, I don't know. I also think that system doesn't really suit him. Mm-hmm. He needs service. He needs to be provided with balls in the box. And if he doesn't get that, and I've said this for years, since his Everton days, if he's not scoring goals, he's not like Benzema. He's not like Lewandowski. He's not like Harry Kane. He doesn't do anything else. His hold-up play is decent, but that's not what he's brought in for. You don't get paid that much money. You're not a record transfer fee for hold-up play. You're there to score goals. And if he's not doing that, then he's not going to make the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
He's crazy to me. A very good player, obviously, Sarah. We know that. We know he's a really good player. It just
but that's also why I think like if he is the player that we know him to be, he's got to get out of there because it's not working for Chelsea. They're wasting money. They're wasting their time. They're wasting their patience. He's wasting his years. Like, get him out of there. Get him out.
Well, he could still stay there. Who knows, right? Maybe Thomas Tuchel leaves. And then new manager comes in, and now here we go. But it sounds like he wants to go back to Inter. Remember that interview he did where he talked about Inter fans and he wanted to go back? Ever since then, it's gone downhill. So obviously, you fracture the relationship. It's going to take a long time for that to heal. But let's move on to today. We got some great games in the Champions League. Starting off with one that I honestly cannot predict. I'm staying away from winners and goal scorers. Atletico Madrid plus 375 at home to Manchester City minus 134. The first leg, City won 1-0. 5 yellows, by the way, handed out. And that segues into my bet for the game. Atletico Madrid over 2.5 cards, minus 140. But Sarah, for City, obviously they had a very, very intense game at the weekend in the Premier League against Liverpool. High intensity, high stakes. How much is that going to affect them, you think, heading into this game?
Yeah, it is. I think it's absolutely going to. I know we spoke about this, I think, last week. But, City had to play Atletico last week. Liverpool, Atletico today. Liverpool again. This is like the scheduling totally, it's going to affect them. But then again, that being said, to contradict myself, Atletico had probably one of their easiest games of the season this past weekend against Mallorca, 17th place in La Liga. Great game to have going into, another match against City. And they lost 1-0. So, it really, like, of course, these games, the pressure of having big games back to back, it weighs on the players. But I'm also wondering, does it keep the players in this kind of like headspace where it's like, we just have to keep going, push, every game matters? Because look, we see Atletico lose to Mallorca. This is terrible for them. This is terrible for them to be going into this game with this mentality right now.
Once again, it's another big game for them, and they still have one eye on finishing the top 4 in La Liga. Everything that was, the one thing that was talked about after that City game was that no shots on target for Atletico Madrid. 10 men behind the ball. Typical Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone. They can't do that necessarily today against Manchester City. I mean, maybe the first half hour or so, we'll see a defensive side to Atletico Madrid. This is just me assuming, but they have to chase the game. And I think that's really going to affect them because we know how good Manchester City are on the counter. But they have to do it. And they're going to need a player like João Felix to hopefully break through that Manchester City defense and score. If you're Simeone, how do you set up for this game?
I don't understand how you don't start Luis Suarez. This, to me, was such a mistake for them. Not only did they not start Suarez in the game against City, they didn't even bring him on. Now, I'm wondering if it was maybe because we had just gone through the international break. Suarez was in Uruguay. I get the travel. He's older. but we're talking about one of the best number 9s in history. You guys are having trouble scoring goals. This is who you start. This is who, like, this to me is like, it's so straightforward. So for me, like Joao, I want him to do well too, but I think you got to go Joao and Suarez, Griezmann on the bench, because I cannot understand how they're not starting this guy. Worst case, you make a 60-minute sub if he's not performing, but like you said, Atletico are struggling to score. So you have to put your strongest, like, attacking, players up there. And I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with this team right now.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, to chase the game, especially, it doesn't matter what team you are. If you're Atletico Madrid, if you're Real Madrid, if you're Liverpool, when you're chasing the game against Manchester City, you're already down. It's going to be extremely difficult to not even score the goal, but just to get the ball off Manchester City, because that's how they defend. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams play together. I mean, obviously being at home and having the fans there is going to play a huge part into this game as well. I was looking back at last season's Champions League. It was the round of 16, Atletico Madrid against Chelsea. They were knocked out. But in the first leg, Atletico lost 1-0. The second leg, they played a lot better, but gave up 2 goals to Chelsea. And I can see a very similar thing happening where they have to open up, and that's not something that they're used to doing. And with Manchester City, you're going to have the likes of Foden, De Bruyne, Grealish, Mahrez, maybe even Gabriel Jesus, who can just break through and score anytime. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Atletico Madrid, but I just can't go. I can't put my neck out, Sarah, and say they can do it, based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Not only does City have, all of those insanely talented attacking players, but let's talk about their goalie. City are coming off of their last 3 UCL matches have been clean sheets.
Yeah.
I know they just came off this tie with Liverpool, and we saw that insane Ederson kind of mishap. But the one thing I took away from that was, okay, he made a mistake. Totally. What happened? But he just calmly strolled right on over and kicked it out. Like, this guy is so cool, calm, and collected. Like, you have to score on him too. And also with the likes of, a Kyle Walker or just Stone standing in front of you. Like, this is such a tough team.
Yeah.
And it is going to take like some real magic from Simeone and Atletico to break down the walls of City and Guardiola.
You know what? There was a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes from Manchester City in that Liverpool game, and vice versa, Liverpool as well. I mean, when you play at that high level and you're playing 2 teams that are that good, mistakes are going to happen, and that could happen obviously today in the Champions League. Man City, big boost. They're going to have Kyle Walker back in the Champions League. He was on a suspension. I think he picked up a card earlier on in the competition. That's a huge boost for them, considering he's probably going to go up against Yannick Carrasco, who enters back into this Atletico Madrid team, one of the main playmakers for them. How much of a boost is that for Diego Simeone?
Absolutely. No, he's super quick. And like you said, he also is a playmaker, and they need that right now. They need somebody to be sending that ball into that area where, maybe the likes of Joao Felix or Luis Suarez can then do something with it. He's crucial, really.
So obviously one of Diego Simeone's game plans was to get under the skin of certain Manchester City players. They did a good job of that against Jack Grealish. I was watching a TalkSport interview today with Gabby Bunglahor, used to play at Aston Villa. I guess he's still in contact with Grealish. And he said that Grealish said, wait till next game, or one of the players said to Grealish, wait till next game, we're going to get you. So my thinking there is, if I'm Pep, maybe start Grealish, try and get under the skin of these players, but don't react, because that's exactly what they want to do. And hopefully you can get one of these Madrid players sent off. Do you expect Pep to deploy that, and does Simeone just go with the same game plan and try and get under the skin of these City players?
It's tough because I think the strategy is it could be really good and it could play to City's advantage. But one, I don't know if I see Pep kind of playing to those kind of strategic games like that. I think he's very much, we're going to go in and we're going to win because we're better. Like, he's very straightforward. I also don't know who Grealish would start for versus, he's kind of a bench player for City, right? So, which is insane,
He can come in maybe for Sterling, but Sterling actually really good form.
I wouldn't start Grealish to play mind games versus Raheem Sterling, who's likely to score a goal for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I completely understand what you're saying, but I think you have to go with the more talented player and the player that's going to get the job done.
I'm with you. You know what? You know what? Too. Grealish did react to that, and I think that's a risk Pep Guardiola isn't willing to take, considering the Champions League is probably the most important thing to him. He doesn't have that yet with Manchester City, so I think he's probably going to take the same approach he does, as you mentioned, to every single game. We're going to go there and win. Forget the mind game. So enough with us being on the fence, Sarah. Who are you taking?
So I'm going to take City, but I'm going to take them to qualify because I could see this game going into extra time. There's just a little bit more pushing me towards City. They have more depth. They have a little bit more confidence right now. Just a better team overall. But I think it's going to be a very, very tough match.
Yeah, I'm staying away from the winner's market. I do love a Cinderella story or an upset story, so I would like to see Atletico Madrid go through. But staying away from winner's market, staying away from goals, Atletico Madrid over 2.5 cards minus 140. I think that might hit in the first half because they pretty much start with 2 cards every single game anyway. But let's move to the next one. Maybe the one that people are ignoring a little bit when they probably shouldn't. Liverpool at home, minus 360 to Benfica, plus 825. The first leg ended 3-1 for Liverpool. We should probably expect quite a bit of changes here from the Liverpool side, considering the lead that they have. But again, like City, they were in a high intense game at the weekend, but Liverpool have the advantage of making these changes. Is that going to help or hurt them today?
No, I think it'll help them because we have to remember they have to go and play City this weekend. Then next week they have to play United. Then later in that week they have to play Everton for the Derby. So Liverpool has an intense schedule ahead. And like we know that they're fighting for the FA Cup, the Champions League, the APL. So I think we will absolutely see some changes, and I think it will be beneficial for them. Maybe a Jota rest, for Firmino, Luis Diaz, like certain little players. We'll probably see roughly, the same 6-7, but I think we're definitely going to see a couple of the guys on the bench and well deserved too. They need it.
Yeah, I mean, the depth with Liverpool this season is incredible. They can start with Luis Diaz, Roberto Firmino, maybe Harvey Elliott in the front three. Look at maybe bringing Curtis Jones, keep Fabinho in there, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to go against his Benfica team. That's still a first-team squad. That's a very good team. So I do expect Liverpool to go through here. I'm not sure if they win the game. I mean, we saw in the last knockout stage against Inter Milan, they won the first leg, came back home, lost 1-0. Milan helped them a little bit with that Alexis Sanchez getting sent off. Mm-hmm. But I can see them, even if Benfica score 1 goal, I can see Liverpool tightening up. If Liverpool score the first goal, then they're just going to pass Benfica to death. But I do expect Benfica to put up a fight, like I mentioned earlier on in the show. This is it. This is all they have to play for. So they can go all in no matter what. And I think when you play a team like that, they can be very, very dangerous, similar to Villarreal.
Yeah, no, I think you can never just completely dismiss a team, especially in the Champions League. We're talking about the best teams in the world right now. But Liverpool not only, I think, are just overall a better team, but they have that 3-1 advantage already. Yeah. Like that is tough for any team. Even if Liverpool was playing Manchester City, I would still say that's a tough, hill to get over. So I think in the end, we might see, like you said, something similar to Inter, strategic. 1-0 loss, Liverpool doesn't care. We'll take it easy. We got games coming up. Yeah. So I think, we might see that. I think it might be a bit of a slower pace game for Liverpool. Hold on to the ball, lots of possession, passing it around, because for them, as long as they don't get, 2 goals scored on them without scoring any, they're flying through.
Right. They just have to manage the game, and I think they really know how to do that. We'll expect changes. I don't expect maybe Virgil van Dijk to sit out. I think he's one of the key pieces to potentially keeping a clean sheet or keeping Benfica at bay. But Benfica have a striker of their own, and a very good one, in Darwin Núñez, who scored a hat-trick at the weekend. He scored also in the first leg here. This is probably his last opportunity to showcase himself on the European stage, because there's a lot of teams who want this player. So I think he can be very dangerous, and I think Klopp needs to be careful with his selection at the back, because when you have a guy like this, he's got, 31 goals in the season so far? He can really hurt them. You get that first goal early, and now Liverpool might be under a little bit of pressure. So I think Klopp really needs to think about his selection when it comes to his back four.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think they're going to be looking at Nunes very close as well, because there's rumors that he might be going to Manchester United next season, and
Oh,
Liverpool.
please. I hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't
United.
either. This
Oh,
is where players go and they fall apart and they just deteriorate.
man,
But
don't
no,
go there.
well, that's what the rumor mill's saying. But you know
I heard
what?
West Ham as well, and I'm like, no, don't go there either.
Yeah, don't go there either. No, no, no. I think he's made a name for himself. I think he's shown the world what he's capable of. We will probably see him try and do, as much as he can today. But I think regardless of what happens today, I think he's done really well for himself, and we can expect good things from him next season, regardless of where he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? We might see some magic. How about a Nunez hat trick that knocks out Liverpool? It can happen. I'm not dismissing anything in this Champions League or the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A. What we've seen this season has been fantastic. One of the best years of football, honestly. But who you got today to finish this game?
Again, I'm taking Liverpool, but I'm taking them to qualify because I think there's a good chance they might lose this game 1-0.
Yeah.
They might be super happy about it.
I'm going with such a loser bet, and I don't even want to play it. Under 3.5 goals minus 120. If it's under 3.5 goals, it might not be the most entertaining game. It could be just a straightforward for Liverpool. Or you never know, maybe a 3-0 from Benfica, which I highly doubt. But under 3.5 goals minus 120. Like I said, if Benfica score first, I think Liverpool have enough to shut it down. And if Liverpool score first, I think they'll manage the game pretty easily. But with that said, I hope for an entertaining game. We both hope for entertaining games on both sides. That's it for Fast Money Football. It's been a fantastic show. You can follow her at Sara Poraria on Twitter. Please follow me as well at TheRealBirdV. And as always, head over to parlay.tv for more parlay content. Good luck today.